So this whole process of subjective object rising, setting, above, below, and the 4 quadrants: intuition, feeling, sensation, and thinking. When you have Saturn, it's grounding you in those areas. It's causing problems in those areas. It means you have to be defensive and work harder in those areas for them to work. That working harder can be really successful. The avoiding the responsibility can be really have difficult karmic consequences. You can have restrictions and limitations there, but it's only the limitations if you're not working to fix them. If you're accepting, I'll never make money, I'll never get this, so I'll never get a job, so I may as well the heck with it. You can make judgments and live in judgments for years, and they can be wrong judgments. Then you've just been a fool with your life. And even then, even if you messed up the first 60 years of your life and you look around and say, well, I got to change this now, you still can start working and changing things now. So Saturn is still a vitally alive thing at any time in your life, at any age in life. But this practical, effective side, being disciplined, working hard, not dumping things on other people, not hurting other people, just being responsible. Wow. Some kids are more inclined to be responsible than others. Some adults too. And usually when you can't be responsible, you're never going to get your job or you never get the break. It's easy to add a lot of other bad habits to fill in the gaps. So the 2 sides of Saturn below the horizon, my personal subjective inhibitions, it's one Saturn the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. I may be inhibited in projecting. I may not know enough. I may not think I know enough. Should I speak? Should I not speak? I want to put it out, but oh boy, I'm not good enough. Like, and the same with identity. Here I am. It's overly cautious. So it's wanting to project, but there's a delay on it from the Saturn. So there's an inhibition, but not projecting. But still, there's a need to work on expressing where you're coming from. If they're coming from a violent or abusive home, you're having to work to either get away from there or eventually confront the situation or think about it, deal with it, and then get on with things. But it will delay that inhibition on your intuition. You won't be quick to it, so you won't be the first one to start the conversation. Even though it's a rising chart, you'll be alert, you'll be strategic, but there's a caution there. And they need to be the one in authority. So for some people that would depress them in studying, so other people would force them to work really well till they know what they're talking about. But so we all are so interwoven with Saturn. And talking about generally, this comes alive when you look at one person's chart, you look at your own chart and you're applying it, and you're seeing it comes, you begin to see, wow, you see all the implications, you get this sort of first the depressing hit, oh geez, yeah, that's there. Then you see the challenge, and then you see that you've been facing these challenges all your life anyways. It's not a fate that you can't achieve, you can't get respect, or you can't be accomplished where Saturn is. You just know wherever Saturn is, it's going to take work. So it's down in that 2nd house of personal resources. You're never going to feel you have enough money, and you're going to have to work hard to be able to use the things you have, or to express yourself. Or if it's on the 1st house, even just to smile instead of being serious. Wow, okay, that's the projecting. The feeling side, subjective, where you're taking things in, you're not inhibited about what you're putting out. You're starting feeling, they didn't like me, they're waiting on the system set up against me, someone's not liking me, someone's delaying me, someone's not encouraging my feelings. And the restriction tends to go in. How do I get better? How could they do that? And you're taking it in, and it's affecting what you're going to put out, but you're taking it in, and you have a feeling about these: who's responsible, who's not, who's listening to you, who's not, and you're listening to them, and they're putting down on, they're dumping on you. It feels like people are dumping on you with the Saturn below. If they're giving good things, it means a huge thing. You have a kid with Saturn below there, and you give them a really positive response for something they did, it's going to have a long-term effect. But usually they did a moderate thing, so they don't get a very crazy thing. If they did a moderate thing, they're going to get a moderate response at best, or be ignored because someone did a better thing. And they're going to have feelings about this, inhibition about this, that's really challenging them. How do you fix your inhibition? I would love to play music. I could never sing. I could never do the music. I couldn't do this. Yeah, you could, just have to work at it. But I need someone to encourage me to do that. Why bother if no one's caring? this feeling side, it's subjective. It's how they take it personally about how other people respond to what they did. So it's easy to feel, I'll never fit in, I won't fit in, I better just stay at home or whatever. But it is the same, very same factor. They can force someone to be healthy, to be very creative, to get things that they get good at things, so that isn't, nobody can blame them that way. When you have Saturn above the horizon, so all of a sudden below, it's taken personally. It affects your personal motivation, where you are, where you go. It's really a personal thing. It's a personal cross that you bear. When it's above the horizon, it's a social functional factor. So many problems come out in the world that have nothing to do with where you're coming from and who you are, where you are, and it's what you're doing and how good you are or not good you are. Or whether you're married or not married, like, whoa. You're being single, you're a single woman, you get to 30, you're still a single woman, and 80% of your friends have their house and their 2.5 kids. And then you're not being invited around so much, you're wondering what's happening. Like, Saturn comes in time, we start seeing, we look back, by the time we're 30, we can't be 20 anymore. We're going to spend a lot of time on Saturn. Seeing it as in the chart, it's not the personal factors, but it's a responsibility factor. It's there. It's a significant placement. And you're not going to expect fun and excitement where Saturn is. You're going to expect discipline and work. There's something to be listened to. But when it's above, you're trying to get authority, ambition, structure with other people to prove you're responsible, that you can be accomplished, to get honor or dignity with other people. When it's below, it's enough to have some respect in yourself. Some discipline, respect for the disciplines you've used for yourself, regardless of whether you fit in or not. There's a need to find that person. I'm good at something, I've worked at something. But when it's above the horizon, you're having to find that sense of status or dignity or respect from what you're doing in the world, from having a job, from carrying things, from getting a raise, from accomplishing things, from being married, not being married, by making commitments that make you part of the community and the world around you. And that's more important than whether you're a deep or sincere person. So Saturn, the thinking planet, you're thinking about who you're influencing, who you're affecting, who's online, who's not. That's 12th, 11th, 10th. It's moving up the status. It's basically very ambitious. I have to accomplish something. I have to make an impression on others. I have to achieve things that's going to build up greater respect. Now I have Saturn in the 12th house where it's somewhat isolated. So I find whenever I'm in a situation where something's wrong or something's not working properly, I get so annoyed. I get involved just because it has to be fixed. You can't leave an injustice there. And that's not the most functional side, but it's still an above the horizon concern. So Saturn in the 3rd house doesn't mean you won't have friends. It'll just be difficult. It'll be a little difficult to form friends. And usually you'll have 1 or 2 close friends for a long time, and other people are more associates. You're a little more practical or defensive about that. But there's a need to achieve friendship and be able to influence other people by your accomplishments, or to work so that other people are adding to reinforcing your accomplishments to where you're trying to go. And still climbing up that image. Saturn in the 10th house. I got to achieve something. I got to do something. If a parent doesn't let a kid do anything when they go to work or to go to school, how are they going to do anything? You have to. They want to get most people Saturn up in the 10th. They want to get out of the house so they can have their own responsibility and nobody's telling them what to do. Anything up there is going to be involved in that status in the house. So like understanding the area of life, that's the houses, the planet being in there, that's the presence that's having to find a way of expressing there. And it's your karma, how you got it and how you're going to work with it. So we can go a long time fighting Saturn. And sooner or later you have to forgive your parents or forgive things and get on with your own life. Forgive yourself, get on with things, make things happen. Forgiving, that's a Jupiter thing, but the accomplishing thing, it's not. We can tell us, oh, it's too late, I'll never get that. I blew the job, I'll never get it again. That's not correct thinking. It'll take a long time to get back to that again. That's thinking. The Olympics we just had is a good example because people spent 4 or 5 years to get there, and if they didn't win first or anything, boy, it's going to be 4 years before they get a chance to even prove something again, if they could still be there. When Saturn's on the setting side, the sensation side objective, it's about marriage, shared resources, and your social ethics, your philosophy, your outlook, your social outlook. So what we should do, we're doing this, would be, it's how we're responding. I'm taking care of this, or you're not taking care of that. How are we sharing our responsibilities? So there's a tendency to think, I want to align with someone so we share the rent. It's not so much work on me, but it could work well. And there's an ability to align with others and be interactive with others about responsibilities, not to just be alone with it. In fact, there's more tendency to align with someone than there is to do it yourself. Okay. Yeah. So you're working on a planet. You're working a planet. You're taking Saturn. We're working on it to see its rising and setting this. We're working on it to see the objective, subjective side of it, and the intuition, thinking, sensation, feeling side of it. And as we're doing the intuition, we're thinking it's rising and subjective. We're using these things. This is working and getting this depth thinking. We're doing this with each planet, and it's going into the same field of houses and affecting different distinct areas of the chart. And when you're working with a person, you're getting the feedback immediately how it's showing. You get certain things of seeing it. When you're working just abstractly for everyone, well, it's a little more difficult because it's easier to, you can see it generally, but when it gets to specifics in our own chart, it stands out really critically. And then it's good to know the subjective side, because then you're reaching for, they're crystallized here. How do you get out of that crystallization to work to make it better, or get beyond it, or add something else? How do you get a new job? How do you get new skills? How do you get a new relationship? How do you fix the relationship you have? Whoa. So Saturn below the horizon in the fifth house. What happens? You're married, you got a couple of kids. What happens if the kids love your partner more than they love you? How do you fix that? It's going to affect your feeling. No immediate solution. This is Saturn. But there's things that can happen. They can bug us for years and sit there for years and interfere with what we're doing. And it can take a lot of time before we finally are ready to deal with this. When we get to the timings of Saturn, we'll see the texture of how this develops across a lifetime. But these specific priorities are your own. When they're your chart, you got them, and you're going to have to figure out how to work with them. Okay, here we go. Okay. So Saturn, it's hard to say it's just this thing or that, but it's our principle of restraint, our ability to listen, ability to be prepared, ability to self-discipline ourselves, to work at something, to make an effort. If you don't make an effort, who's going to give you responsibility? Some people are really talented, they can do something really easily, but they don't get respect, they get attitude because they haven't really had to work at it as hard as someone who doesn't have quite as much talent. But it doesn't mean that person without the talent can't get there. It's just going to take time and work and discipline. Ooh.